Can you record? Hello, everyone. Successive Digital brings to you the first edition of Digital Decode Live, a webinar series in collaboration with industry experts, partners, and our valued clients to uncover and discuss the latest trends. With over 37 episodes of Digital Decode series that we launched last year with our thought leaders, we are excited to launch the live series of Digital Decode with handpicked insights from global industry experts. Having said that, the topic for today's webinar is emerging trends in B2B online commerce space with experts from Big Commerce and Successive, where we'll discuss how the pandemic shaped this industry, the B2B e-commerce challenges, the opportunities and strategies, of course, to overcome these challenges. But before we jump on to the discussion, let me introduce our panel that we have today. So I am Shifali Gill, your moderator for the discussion. We have Lance, General Manager at Big Commerce, joining us live from Austin. Hi, Lance.
Hi, Shifali. So excited to be on this first live with Successive. It's going to be a truly fantastic session, fantastic topic, great speakers. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, same here, Lance. We also have Anshuman, who's Director and Country Head at Big Commerce. So good to have you here, Anshuman. We also
Hi,
have,
namaste. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Shifali. Thank you, Shifali.
yeah, we also have Gaurav Malik, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at Successive Digital.
Hello, everyone. Look forward for a fantastic discussion. And I want to thank our partner team from Big Commerce, Lance and Anshuman, for joining us for our very first Digital Decode Live.
Welcome to this webinar, Gaurav, Lance, and Anshuman. And thank you so much for our audience, whosoever is joining us live from LinkedIn and YouTube. So much content is going to be shared in next 1 hour. Stay tuned with us till the end. And also, we'll keep everyone on mute for now, but we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So if you have any questions as we go, just drop them in the comment section and we'll pick your question and each of them will be answered. So now coming back to the agenda of this discussion, B2B or business to business commerce is a complex process. A lot has been said and done in this space in the recent past. However, the market is still fairly unexplored and it holds a lot of potential that is untapped. And experts say that it can benefit from omnichannel and integrated solutions just as amazingly as B2C e-commerce. The B2B environment has its own set of rules and challenges and expectations, of course. It simply needs different tools and solutions that respond to its unique nature. And as we speak of the potential, I found this very interesting report published in Forrester in 2022, which states that the US B2B e-commerce sales are estimated to exceed $3 trillion by 2027. Now, here in 2022, it was around 1.7 trillion. The trend towards digital is unstoppable. And seeing the growth, which has almost doubled in the span of last 5 years, my first question is to you, Lance. So I see at Big Commerce, you are supporting a lot of businesses globally. So what do you see or experience in your day-to-day life and in your day-to-day merchant conversations? Would you like to share some of the key trends around the B2B e-commerce?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Shifali. You set the tone so well there. But to double click, just before I get into those trends, to double click on that number. So you there showed $3 trillion, right? Today in the US, about 17% of B2B e-commerce is done online. That number varies globally. In China, it's much higher, but around the rest of the world, that number's about true. 17% is done through e-commerce. Most projections show that number growing from 17% today to 30% by 2030. That is a huge amount of business that is going to come online and onto e-commerce in the B2B space. And manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers, they've got to be ready for it. They've got to be ready to transact online and service their customers online. And so when I think about trends in the B2B space, there's sort of four that I like to call out. And they start really basic. It's actually just digital transformation. Now, that's not necessarily e-commerce specific. In fact, it isn't e-commerce specific. And that's an important point. Most B2B businesses, prior to moving online, have to get the rest of their tech stack, the rest of the technologies that they are using up to modern standards. There are lots of manufacturers, distributors, wholesalers that are using antiquated, out-of-date ERPs that can't connect into a modern system like BigCommerce without a lot of work, without a lot of middleware, pulling data and pushing data and doing all kinds of weird and wonderful things to make that happen. And so the first trend I call out is really just digital transformation. It's digitizing all of that back office, the ERP, the CRM, the OMS, the order management system, ensuring that all of that is digitized so that when you make that step to transacting online, all the data is readily available. That makes the second trend kind of obvious. It's the e-commerce adoption itself. So you've built that kind of foundation. The manufacturer has implemented the new ERP. It's got open APIs. They've implemented maybe a PIM, product information management system, that's managing all of the data for their potentially hundreds of thousands of SKUs. So they've got great product data. Now they're going to get it online. And there are estimated, obviously, again, estimated in the US, around 30% to 40% of B2B businesses are not transacting online today. That is a huge number. It's absolutely huge. And they are going to slowly move online. And we're seeing that today. And BigCommerce is a platform of choice for many of them. Why is that happening? Two reasons. One, buyers want it, right? And we'll talk about this and go into a lot more detail, I am sure, right? The millennials who are moving into the workplace, they want online. They're used to Amazon. They're used to quick, easy product discovery and quick, easy ordering, right? B2B and B2C are different. They're very different in the way they operate, but you want the ease. We want to take the ease of B2C shopping, and that's what a buyer wants. And so if that manufacturer or a distributor is not online, the buyer is going to go somewhere else. And so that's what I call the kind of pull effect that's pulling these manufacturers and distributors online. And then there's the push effect. The more a manufacturer and distributor can automate product discovery, can automate sales, can automate mundane, I'm going to call them mundane, operational processes like returns, servicing, warranties, and move that online, the more that the business is going to free up their sales team, save headcount. It's going to allow the sales team to focus on selling rather than operations. It's going to free up capital intensive resources, which is really important. And then we've built the foundation, we've got online. So what are the trends that I'm seeing online? There are kind of two: personalization and customization, right? How do you ensure that the experience the buyer is getting is personalized to their needs, their wants, their desires when they hit the site, especially in B2B? I know what they want, and I can service the products that I know that they're likely to purchase. And then secondly, omni-channel, right? Across all of the channels. I like to say that B2B was omni-channel before omni-channel was cool. B2C omni-channel is now cool. B2B's been doing omni-channel for forever, but we're finally bringing that online, and that's really exciting. So regardless of the channel that you purchase through, if I'm a construction worker here in the US, let's say, and I walk into a warehouse and I purchase some lumber, when I get back to my computer, I should see that order. I should be able to return that order. I should be able to reorder all of those goods online. And that's what omni-channel really means for B2B. It's about a holistic experience, a unified experience across all channels. And those are really the kind of key trends that we're catching today. There's lots more to dig into in all of those, which I'm sure we'll do. But at a high level, those are kind of my four key blocks and pillars of the trends that we're seeing from the manufacturers, distributors that we work with here at BigCommerce.
Thanks, Lance. The way you spoke and the points that you brought up are indeed some first-hand information coming straight from the industry. But here, I would also love to hear from Gary. Gary, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think one of the things that Lance brought up, right, which resonates a lot with me in terms of the B2B businesses not having the right technology tech stacks. And that is where I see a big struggle, even for B2B businesses, for thinking of becoming omni-channel and being able to provide B2C experiences. There's a big struggle around how do they push the tech stack to the modern tech stacks that can support a lot of those technologies, right? I've seen businesses having not even on, they are not even on cloud as an example. How can they bring in a lot of their legacy systems on cloud so that the big commerce can integrate with them and start working with them as an example? um, some of the statistics that I was reading very recently is 48% of the B2B businesses are not ready to be modernized yet, and they actually expect others to be more modernized, right? So one of the things that we help our customers, and we have done that for many other clients, is looking at a holistic picture, not only just from a B2B sales strategy perspective, but also doing a holistic audit about themselves. Where are they currently in their digital transformation journey? What are their plans for next 3 to 5 years? And then do that whole digital transformation in more of an agile way. And businesses who've done that, adopted it, also look at the nuances of what is the impact internally, how does it impact culturally, right? How does their strategy fit into this? These are the 4 to 5 points I believe that if businesses are looking at for their B2B strategy, that will really help them take a competitive advantage.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary. Anshuman, again, I'm coming to you. Do you have anything to add in here?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some amazing points mentioned by both Lance and Gary. I have like slightly different experience and slightly different viewpoint. You know, the biggest and the toughest days operating a B2B business or any kind of business is during your sales days. And the question is around trends. The biggest and latest trend that I see that has happened and that has shifted is digitization of B2B, which means now people don't have to do overshifts. Like, additional spending extra hours in offices, managing inventory through CSV or manual processes, order allocation, each and every step of a B2B journey, starting from cataloging to promotions to UI UX to order management to procurement, everything can be automated, and that has saved a lot of time. That's one of the biggest shift that I see is the latest trend that is happening. Though agreeing to what Gary said that 43 or almost 50% of companies are still not ready to adopt the B2B channels. But at the same time, I see when people move from company A to company B at a higher positions, one of the biggest thing that they bring on the table is how can I save time and how can I save money. The B2B business that we're talking about primarily and predominantly is dependent and is really heavily, focused, and it starts from the horse's mouth, and that is the US market. 57% of the world's B2B happens or digitally in the US market. And that's where per dollar rates hits the most to a retail brand. And I personally feel the kind of deployments and with the kind of solutions we at BigCommerce have built, this has saved a lot of time for a lot of merchants globally. And that is for me is the biggest trend changing, that you don't have to now do overtimes in your office.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much,
Anshu,
Anshuman.
did you Anshu, did you just call the United States horses? Is that what I just heard? With a horse's mouth over here in Austin, Texas. I love that. Sorry, Shafali, for butting in.
Yeah,
I just wanted
exactly.
to
That's the
double click
biggest.
on a point. I just wanted to double click on a point
Yeah.
that Gary made because I think it was really, really, really important. He said this is a 3-year journey and you have to plan for the entire journey. There are so many B2B businesses, manufacturers, distributors that I talk to that come to BigCommerce saying, I want to get online.
Yeah.
And I end up having to say to them, you're about a year and a half away from being ready to get online because you don't have product data. Sure, you can spin up a site and you can put product data on there. And I recommend that businesses do that. If you can manually arrange product data, get your site live, that's a great top of funnel. You don't have to be transacting on day one. You don't. But to be fully live and transacting, you have to have those digital systems that talk to each other. That may require an entire digital transformation. I think the point Gary made is really important. You need a full fledged, thought out plan. How am I going to digitize my business from not just selling? This is the front end. Selling is the last bit. Creating the product, catching all my inventory, making sure that it's up to date. And one of the, and not just saying this because I'm on a call with, on a webinar with some of our fantastic partners here in Successive, but having the right partner is really important, and a partner that can walk with you along that entire journey. Yeah. Because if you don't have the right expertise of people who have done that before, and you fall down at the first hurdle, let's just say it's digitizing the product catalog, and you can't get that done for whatever reason, because you haven't got the right expertise and you haven't got the right partners, selling online becomes near impossible. And so I want to double click on that, because I think it's a really, really, really good point, and really important for success.
Thank you, Lance. I think just to build upon that, this is getting very exciting, is one of the suggestions that we make to our clients and prospects is you need to work with the experts who can tell you what not to do. Everyone tells you what to do, but the most important part in your B2B digital journey is what not to do and what are some of the best practices. And those are the ones which really require the right partnerships with the right OEMs and the right service providers.
Indeed, 100%. So, my takeaway from the speakers is that this sector has seen a lot of makeovers and a lot more to come, with a promise to deliver on sustainability, personalization and automation, consistent and exceptional omni channel experiences, and above all, at the same level of convenience, speed, and flexibility users get while shopping on B2C platforms. Now, the pandemic, we all remember, and we'll never forget, of course, have given us so much learning. The way we used to do businesses have completely changed. The way we used to live our lives has completely changed. Now, this reminds me of an article that was published by McKinsey, which states that B2B mobile app orders increased by 250% ever since the pandemic surfaced. This number would have been very hard to achieve had the pandemic not happened. We also observed, as Lance just mentioned, that this digital shift in B2B is highly inspired by B2C, like digitization of catalogs, also the real time inventory checks through the handheld device, and so much more. So, Lance, again, I'm coming to you. Our audience would like to hear what changes have you witnessed in recent years as you spoke about automation across verticals and reduced dependency on manual processes.
Yeah, you touched on some really great points already there, Shafali, that I'll double click into. But just to kind of dot the I and cross the T on those numbers, you're 100% right. We wouldn't have seen that level of growth in B2B online orders, mobile orders without the pandemic, because sales teams couldn't get out to see their customers. And so they had to find another way to interact. But that growth trend was already happening. It accelerated to the growth trend, and I think we're now back down towards trend level. What we saw was that acceleration and then kind of a move back towards trend. So we were on this journey with or without that pandemic. We just had that great acceleration that occurred because businesses were forced to figure out, how are we going to interact with our customers when we can't go and take orders from them personally and directly? B2B and B2C are really different. They are a very different way of purchasing and operating. The way I like to think about it is, when I'm purchasing from Amazon, in fact, I was purchasing a car seat last night. When I'm purchasing a car seat, I spend hours doing research. I look over all of the options. I ask friends for advice. I spend a lot of time looking for the product. When I'm purchasing on behalf of my company, I may not be doing that. Time is money in this instance. I want to find as quickly as possible the right product for me, and I want to make that purchase as quick as possible. And maybe when I make that purchase, I have to go through a series of processes to get approval. I'm not going to put a credit card down. I'm going to purchase on terms. So an invoice has to be created, and that invoice then has to be paid. And I then may have to think about, how am I going to service that product? What are the warranties on that product? Because the lifespan of the product, may be 2 years before I need a new service. That's very different to kind of a B2C way of thinking about e-commerce and purchases. In B2C, I'm on a site. What's the goal of the company? Get a product in a cart, get me checked out as fast as possible. Get that conversion rate as high as possible. In B2B, it's a little bit different because I may be hitting that site for various different reasons: to pay an invoice, to do product research, to log a service, to log a support ticket. There are different reasons I could be there. And so it's not all about cart and conversion. But where we are seeing B2B and B2C trends converge is really around user experience. And user experience that's a broad term. It captures a lot. But I kind of think of it as, how do we engage our customers? How do we have engaging content that they will want to come back and service? I like to think of it also as education. Are you educating your customers? Are you a thought leader in your space? When your customer hits your site, do they get everything they need from that product detail page as quickly as possible? That's what they need. That's what they want. Self-service, right? That's number 2. By self-service, I mean, I don't have to pick up the phone to speak to a salesperson to ask, where is my order? Or to reorder the same products I've already ordered. I should be able to self-serve all of that through the online portal. And that to me is sort of one of the biggest trends that we're seeing at the moment, making those offline manual processes more accessible online so we can free up the sales team, free up resource to be able to focus on selling. And then kind of last one, customization and personalization. I mentioned this in kind of the trends in the first question, but that's really key. And we're really borrowing from B2C there, where when you hit a site, the adverts that you see, they're all personalized. And it's different for B2B because you've got entire companies purchasing. You may have someone at the company who's purchasing, just desks and monitors, and someone who's purchasing cleaning equipment. And so the way you personalize is different, but understanding the customer is the same. What do they purchase before? What are they likely to purchase again? And getting those products at the top of their search results, making sure that you're suggesting other products they may be interested in, cross-sell, upsell. All of that is driving the B2B online experience to be more like the B2C experience today.
Exactly, Lance. Also, since we are talking about trends and more, for our audience, we have shared a blog in the comment section. Anyone who wants to read about it can pick it up from there. And Anshuman, I would like to hear from you. Would you like to add something on top of this?
Yeah, I think the question is around digitization in the entire e-commerce space. I think a lot has been learned over the years around digitization in this entire game. I think the devices, the way the operation and the way people used to, do their day-to-day tasks have changed a lot. Starting from, again, as I mentioned in my previous thought, that inventory management, allocation of orders from multi-location. Earlier, all that was done manually. Yeah, then things around managing your catalog, things around managing your promotions, customer retention, picking up phones and talking to place an order, checking inventory of the phone versus shifting to handheld devices, you know pricing and quotation. All those can be done through an automation process. Customer service, inclusion of chatbots in a chat support can help a lot. Financial processes, in B2B, purchases don't happen with an appropriate payment cycle or with appropriate credit periods. So there are CRMs available, and CRMs that can be built within the system to chase end buyers to make payments at the due date. So there's no manual reconciliation or manual process involved. So the entire thing, starting from supply chain management to reporting, to time saving, and then running the entire processes, has actually helped a lot in changing the entire hemisphere of how the operation works. And that's where modern day applications like BigCommerce comes really handy, with a buyer portal, a personal user experience as a storefront for a sales rep could be different to what a merchant see, could be different to what a potential buyer sees, and could be really different to how a backend admin sees. I think all those things are playing a really, really good hand-in-hand combination.
Exactly, Anshuman. So, for our audience, I would like to mention here that millennials, since we're talking about the new age buyers, millennials make up an overwhelming 73% of B2B customers. They have different requirements, they have altogether a different checklist as they come from a technically advanced landscape, such as that of B2C. Hence, they want the replica of the same in their B2B buying experience too. B2C buyers make impulsive purchases and are much more prone to emotional nudges. Now, B2B, on the other hand, is polar opposite. It's more of a business need where the procurement is a calculated process based on data, based on the stats, and based on the demand and supply of that current scenario. Now, this makes us all wonder what are the challenges in the B2B online commerce that are yet to be solved and put a bandage on? Anshuman, would you like to tell our audience about the existing challenges within the B2B online market?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Shifali. Yeah, I think it's a very good question. You all talk about possibilities. I think it's very good to learn and share the challenges. With my journey and with my adoption, building a proper B2C system, integrating with a lot of backend legacy systems is the first challenge. You know, the point is you can't build 0 to 100 and then launch. So I think that's the first challenge, that at what stage you launch and at what stage you start figuring out how to go, a typical launch. Then the other challenges are, transforming your traditional data, which is like an on-premise data, to a cloud environment, to start making data-driven decisions and have a quality data and quality report and dashboards. Then challenges around, cybersecurities, challenges around adoption of new modern day products, devices, changing the mindset of a team from a lot of manual processes to altogether using a new process. If you go and tell someone at the age of 60 that now from an automatic mode you have to drive a stick version of a car, it becomes very difficult. I think it's the same thing that is happening with a lot of retailers, where they're used to decade old systems, and changing from them to modern day system takes a lot of effort and time. Then that's exactly what I call is as a cultural shift. Then changes in the entire the way the business works, expectations by a buyer to have a real so to getting on a phone with someone to get the real time pricing, current promotions running, and inventory available. All that now, when it goes to a proper digitized version of a B2B business, are the real ground level changes. And I'm sure there are a lot that come, which I'm sure Gary and Lance would going to talk about while implementing and while looking at some existing legacy B2B systems when we are migrating them. But for me, these are some of those critical challenges.
Yeah, and Lance, here I can read your mind. You have a lot of things to say. Would you like to add something here?
Actually, you covered a lot there, and it was very great insights. And I agree with absolutely everything that you said there. Those are key challenges. Maybe getting a little tactical about it. What are some of the real tactical issues? And diving a layer deeper from where Anshu really nicely kicked us off there. Complex pricing. Start there. Pricing for manufacturing distribution is completely different to B2C. Right? I have seen businesses that every single one of their customers, all 100,000, has a different price because they negotiated on a product and that became the contract price. That has to be translated. It may not be digitized yet. That has to be digitized. Then it has to be translated into an e-commerce system. It has to be visible online. It has to be visible. You can't have a buyer who can phone up a salesperson and get a different price than they're going to see online. Right, that cannot happen. And I don't want to talk too much about big commerce specifically, but we've really solved that with the way that we handle price lists in big commerce. But that's one of the key complexities that we come up against. Custom catalogs. There may be different products that you're selling to different customers, and they may be customized. So let's imagine you're selling personalized or customized products that have the logo of the brand on them. You don't want your other companies, your other buyers seeing that when they log into your site. You really don't. And so you need to be able to control that as well and ensure that only the right products are being shown to the right customers. Really important. And kind of holistically here as well, and Anshu touched on it, data. You have to have great data, a great product data that is digitized and can be fed into any system across your tech stack. That is a huge challenge for a lot of businesses. You think that's simple, easy. It's not. If you don't have that digitized catalog today, getting it digitized can take time, money, and effort, and you need to. And one last point, just before I hand back to you, Shafali, or Gary, whoever wants to chime in, something Anshu touched on and is often forgotten about. Just because you've built a beautiful looking site does not mean your buyers are going to use it. That 60-year-old buyer that has always phoned up the sales team might just keep phoning up the sales team. You have to think about how are you going to incentivize them to move online? Are you going to offer discounts when you purchase online? Is it that the experience is better, that they can get access to inventory that they couldn't? They can see live inventory that they otherwise couldn't. And so going online makes a lot of sense. You really have to think about that. And there are a couple of customers that we speak to that's where they've struggled. They've built great looking sites, but then they have to get the customers shopping through the site. And that is not necessarily easy. And there are lots of ways to change sales team incentives and create discounts online to help the customers see the light that purchasing through the site is the right way to go about it.
Wonderful, Lance. Wonderful. Gary, I would want to hear your thoughts here on this one too. But before I see a lot of new people are joining in us, welcome to this webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. Our experts will pick them up and we'll address them at the end of this webinar. Gary, over to you.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. And very interesting insights, Anshuman and Lance. I think I would like to build upon the pricing part, Lance, that you were talking about, right? In the B2B space, it is so complex, right? It is not just the dynamic pricing, it is also contract negotiation. And when you check out, how the hell do you make the payments, right? Because the payments are cross borders, there are tax nuances, there are certain compliances that needs to be taken care of. And I think that's where the biggest struggle is. And that is where the businesses are kind of holding off that should we even go for a B2B strategy or not. So I think one of the things that we advise to our clients, right, is start with a laser focus on the industry, right? So there are very nice CRMs and ERPs available which are very industry focused. A lot of our clients have built custom ERPs. A lot of clients are using some OEMs, right? Now, once you've done that, you need to have a holistic view on what works for my industry. Then you have to figure out what is the customer journey of my buyer. Is my buyer just buying online or over the phone? Or are the buyers buying for my sales reps who are actually in the field selling my products? It may be a service these days as well, by the way, right? So thinking of the entire life cycle of the buyer journey is one of the biggest challenge, because a lot of times even the executives don't know the buying journey, right? Because it is so complex in the B2B space. It's very easy to know that in the B2C space because there's a lot of data available. You can use, you can actually do some experiments and try those. If you have been able to figure out the customer journey and the buying journey on a B2B side, then you got to figure out that how do we provide the most personalized experiences, right? So for example, if I'm a B2B buyer, and let me just take a very simple example of this marker that I buy from a vendor, right? Now, if my vendor knows that I always buy 3 colors of markers because I use all the 3 colors, right? That's kind of my preference. That kind of personalization also needs to go into the systems, that if a vendor is serving to Successive Digital, then that's the kind of preference, that's the culture of Successive, that they use 3 colors while they're writing the markers. That's the level the millennials are expecting. How do you implement those? Those are very complex rules that needs to be taken care of. Forget the nuances of the payment systems that I was talking about. right? And that's where I'm coming back to the whole strategy that needs to be implemented. Make it like a 3-year strategy. What are your must haves? What are your nice to haves? And what are your wish list? If you try to implement all three of them, you're not going to land anywhere. And Lance and Shuman, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
again,
Shafali, you're on mute, but I will.
yeah.
Sorry, Shafali. Just to hit one point that you said, Gary, I think was really, really key, and I didn't mention it. I really should have. Understand your buyer journey.
Yeah.
Start by understanding your buyer journey, the jobs they're trying to do when they purchase from you. You may realize that today your buyers are all using spreadsheets to track their purchases and log their purchases, and that's how the majority of them are purchasing from you, and they don't want to change, and they may not want to change. And how are you going to add value to that process? And I think a lot of businesses forget to start there. Start with your buyer, understand what it is they are trying to do when they're purchasing from you, what their jobs to be done are, how they purchase from you, and how they think you can improve. And if you're building with the buyer in mind, you have a much better chance of success when you go live. That's a really, really, really good point.
Yeah, and even Gary, I really liked your example that you have just given about that marker. It totally makes sense. And Anshuman, here again, I would like to hear from you a little bit on what Gary and Lance just said.
I think each and every point is really valid. I think the most important is for a brand manufacturer when starting their B2B journey is that what is the kind of strength they have and what is the kind of product they have versus what is the kind of customer consumer behavior they have. You know, custom pricing is one of the biggest challenges. Custom catalog is one of the biggest challenges. You know, if they can solve this in a B2C format, it's really easy to solve it in a B2B format and the vice versa as well. I think these are few important challenges which needs to be considered and a very good starting point. If you are able to solve your pricing, your promotions and catalog, I personally feel 50% of the job is done. Rest 50 is collecting orders and processing those orders. But you know, telling what you have as a heart in your heart as in the product in your manufacturing capacity. I call it heart inside the product or heart inside your core business values. I think that's where the focus is. Can you ensure a seamless omni-channel experience, which means prices over the phone versus prices on a handheld devices versus promotion on a web version, are they exactly the same? That's the challenge you need to solve, and that's how transparency and a faith in the entire buying journey will change, because for a 60-year-old person, calling someone is the best faith to have.
Still easy.
True, so true. So, as we conclude this, the B2B e commerce space indeed had a lot of challenges, yet it achieved a surprising degree of success as we are speaking about the trends and digitization and a lot of things happening today. And since we're talking about the agility, digital transformation, and the ease of placing orders, we have shared a lot of blogs in the comment section. So again, I'm saying this to our viewers, whosoever is joining us from both LinkedIn and YouTube. Feel free to drop your questions, or you can pick whatever excites you from the comment section. We have a lot of blogs that we have shared here from BigCommerce and from Successive Digital both. And also, Lance and Anshuman, we have handpicked a few very good blogs from your website.
Thank you,
Our,
Shafali. I think that's,
yeah, our viewers would love them.
sure. I
So,
think that
yeah, Anshuman, you were saying something.
No, I think that's really good of you sharing some of these insights and for people to read. I think there's a lot to read from there and what to learn from your the peer people in the same domain have done. Thank you, Shafali and team, for sharing these.
Yeah. So again, we see a lot of new players who were initially B2C taking a step into the B2B space, providing a secure platform to the buyers. Now, this is exactly a vice versa happening. A well known ketchup brand I know is a very good example of this, which most of us might have used this morning in the breakfast. Once a B2C, the brand strategically moved to B2B commerce, targeting food service owners and operators directly, providing them a personalized and digitalized B2B experience. Now, McKinsey in the report said that more than 70% of businesses will happily consider other vendors if their must haves are not met during their buying journey, or if the experience with the vendor is poor. Now, having said the digitized experience, having said the millennials that we have on board right now in the buying decision, still there is a lot of modern day strategy that is inspired from B2C being implemented in the B2B, which takes me to the next question, that is which is to you, Gary. For B2B commerce, given all sort of online and digital efforts that we are speaking about today, that we read daily, what are your experiences around successfully implementing the omni-channel strategy for B2B sellers?
Perfect. Thank you, Shafali, for that question. And I think this is kind of a good segue to what Anshuman was talking about in terms of the omnichannel strategy. And I think Lance also touched upon the overall omnichannel strategy on when we were talking about some of the challenges as well, right? So I think we talked about millennials. I think you mentioned 70% plus are the people who are millennials who are making the business decisions. But how about Gen Z? That is also entering into the decision making category. A lot of young startups, they are all Gen Zs. They are also buying from businesses, right, to run their own business. Hence, B2B commerce landscape needs a rapid transformation, and businesses who are not focusing on this is going to impact their top line and bottom line. So, what are the recommendations that we would make in the omni-channel strategy, right? When we talk about omni-channel strategy, it looks very simple that just make a responsive website, your website is there, your phone is there, and maybe you can get an app. Oh, by the way, let's create a wrapper and create an app. Use the PWA approach and make it, right? Those, in my mind, are quick fixes or not the right strategies to go about it. I think one of the points I want to touch upon is how do you have the integration of your digital and your physical channels? Because in the B2B space, your physical channels are as important as your digital channels, right? Um, so obviously, your customers expect that all the channels should have the similar type of experience as well as the data to what Anshu and Lance were mentioning, that I should see the same pricing, right? But this means that the businesses needs to ensure a consistent experience while you're interacting across all the touch points. 83% of B2B leaders believe that omnichannel strategies are the only way to prospect and secure new business. Now, 83% are thinking, how many of them are implementing? So that's first part of it, right? I think Lance talked about personalization at scale, right? I think there's a question also coming in while I was reading the comments from our very engaged audiences, that how do you get personalization during the checkout process? We'll talk about that in the Q&A section, right? But when it comes to personalization and personalization at scale, a lot of things needs to be implemented in the data analytics and the AI space, because data is everything, right? So how do you ensure you're using the power of Gen AI as well in order to look at the personalization? What do I mean by that? I gave an example of a marker, right? How are you capturing each and every preferences? Think of how Amazon is capturing each and every clicks that we do while we are doing the buying, right? How do I give a reminder on my abandoned cart, which I have added so many things I wanted to buy, but I have not made a purchase? Because at the end of the day, what matters is a purchase, right? Doesn't matter if the user has clicked on so many items and put them into the cart. That's the level of personalization that is absolutely required. And B2B businesses must put personalization at the center of their strategy while designing the B2B systems. I think I was going to talk about self-service options, but Lance already brought up that topic. But one of the data that I was reading for self-service options, by 2025, 80% of B2B sales interactions between suppliers and buyers will happen on digital channels. Wow, 80%. And the source is Gartner. So if 80% are going to happen in 2025, we're just 1 year away. What are we all thinking in terms of our 3-year strategy, right? That's kind of a very serious question I pose to all the business owners who are into B2B, that they must start to think about this strategy in terms of how do they implement it. The next one I want to touch about is the omni-channel customer support. I think customer support becomes very critical. I don't think we've talked about it, even in B2B businesses. I think Anshuman was saying that by implementing certain strategies, you can actually have more time and you can go to sleep. But how do you, B2B businesses sometimes require 24/7 customer support. How do you do that, right? Now we can say, oh yeah, build a chatbot and that will answer everything. We all know chatbots doesn't work. I hate it myself, right? But then what do you do? What we recommend, I think a lot of our existing clients and even the prospects, they are asking that, can you build a chat GPT for my own company where the Gen AI can crawl and answer questions in a more structured way. Wow, I would love to do that. Conversational AI is another element that B2B can adapt from B2C businesses. Lastly, I think in B2B, there's a lot of data that needs to be published before the decision is made, right? I think Anshu was mentioning about large spreadsheets. So how do we create those conversational bots which can provide that kind of a personalized experience where I don't even have to go and talk to anyone and I get all the information that I want, right? Going one step further, right? Can I also provide a comparison of my competitor, right? I can scrap the pricing of my competition and give them a side-by-side comparison the way Amazon provides it, right? That if you are liking this product, you may want to buy this product, right? That is the level of trend that is emerging. And honestly, this has all been driven by millennials. So those are some of the things that is very much required to design the omni-channel strategy. And we've done that for a lot of our customers. We have done business audits, we have done technology audits, and some of the things that has come up from the D2C brands as well as the B2B side of the businesses, would love to share and discuss them offline. Feel free to send us a IM, and there's our email address that's mentioned in our presentation as well. Feel free to reach out. Lance and Anshu, you were nodding a lot, so would love to hear your thoughts on these.
Go for it, Lance. Go for it.
Yeah, there was so much there. I think one of the things you mentioned was really future looking, right? AI, LLMs. How are they going to change B2B buying? And I think you said they're bots. The bots don't really work. They're not great. The bots are starting to get a lot better. And I think they actually have more potential in B2B than they do in B2C. In B2C, there's a lot more emotion in that purchase. Bot's not going to understand that emotion. It can't interact with that emotion. In B2B, it's more facts and figures, the usefulness of the product. We've got some technology companies, I won't mention their names, but who are working on LLM models specifically for B2B. And it's very interesting to see the output. Imagine I'm a contractor and I've got the architect drawings for my house. And I go on to my HVAC distributor, my air conditioning distributor, and I load in the architect drawing for the house. And I say to the LLM that's on my distributor site, I need to install an HVAC in this house. What do I need? Where should it go? It can suggest the best products. In fact, thumbs up. It can suggest lots of the products that I could choose, how they're going to fit together, right? All of the joining parts that I need to actually install it. Give me different options, maybe based on price, based on quality, based on the amount of cooling that system is going to be able to do. And if it's interacting with some form of, drawing AI, maybe it can even output for me the diagrams of what I'm going to install. That's potentially the future. But I don't even think potentially, that is the future. Now, we're a few years away from that, but there are technology companies that are out there working on exactly this right now and doing it quite well. Some of the kind of initial tests of that kind of tech, we're partnering with them a big commerce. I'm really excited to see where that goes, because the implications are just, they're amazing. They're fantastic. The time saved for the buyer, if you are the HVAC distributor that implements that first, my gosh, one, you're just going to get a lot of hits on your site, people testing it and trying it out. But when they test it and try it out, they very might just hit buy, because if it solved the problem, wow, and I think that's applicable across, I use the HVAC example, that's applicable across so many different verticals. Potentially, all of them. We've actually talked to a golf manufacturer who's looking at that sort of technology and implementing it now for wholesale golf parts and clubs and drivers and that sort of thing, which is really interesting. So I wanted to double click on that, because I think that's really key. And you said, I'd already spoken about self-serve. Just again to highlight, omni-channel, regardless of where the interaction happens, and 80% of them supposedly are going to be online, regardless of where that interaction happens. Yeah. I should be able to find that interaction online and follow up on it. And you mentioned it. It's about the entire buyer life cycle, from product discovery to purchase to service to warranty to support, all of it across all of my channels and consolidated online. That's really what omni-channel is for B2B. And it's a streamlined buyer experience to that buyer when they feel like they are being served with the information they need when they need it. You're anticipating their needs as a seller, going to increase loyalty. It's going to increase their love of your brand, which is going to increase their loyalty. They're going to spend more of their wallet with you. And ultimately, that's what a manufacturer distributor wants.
Yeah, I think amazingly put forward each and every point, and limitation as well. I'm into this e-commerce space since 2009. And I've been hearing about omni-channel strategies from 2009, 10, 11, 12. And I see them now happening, and especially it was not about, the industry. It was a buzzword which was always there. And now we see a lot of things happening with topped up with Gen AI and a lot of those content. I think the bottom line and the entire gimmick of the game is how to be more profitable, how to be more effective, how to be more automation, and maybe learning from the modern day buyers. And with all the stats, there's another stat which says today, purchase from a B2B vendor or a B2B or B2 manufacturer, 73% of the purchases are done by Gen Zs. And that's where the experience is very critical. It is about, how they interact, how they expect, and they expect a B2C experience. Chatbots, they don't want to pick up the phone. They would love to interact, spend some time, wait for a chatbot to answer, play around with various promotions, play around with various stuff. I think, again, it's boiling down to how effectively you implement, how quickly you implement, keeping in mind your category and your buyers. I think that's Lance brilliantly put. Well, Gaurav, you gave an amazing, thoughts about customer experience, what the actual buyer expects. Now, this buyer is expecting a B2C experience from a manufacturer. Quick updates on WhatsApp, communications on WhatsApp, or maybe all those, communication channels, email, WhatsApp, SMS, and then, promotions, notifications sending about, limited stock, promotions, fast moving items, exactly the same way how a B2C business is run. I think this shift in paradigm of a buying behavior, where now it's not a 60-year-old is on the manufacturer side who's selling, and who is purchasing on the other side is a millennial, or is as a Gen Z, who's could be a startup, could be a single store owner, or could be something like that. So I think shift in those two things and bridging a gap between those two would take some more time, but things are changing. People are ready to learn, and I see it's going to change every year. 3 years is shitloads of time. I know some examples that people started 3 years ago, and now when they are going live with their B2B experience, things have changed. Yeah. Anyways, I think good. Over to you, Shifali.
Yeah, so building on what our speakers just said, omni-channel, mobile first, and AI-powered personalization approach is indeed setting the momentum for B2B digital experiences. And again, we as millennials are making the stage ready for the next generation to come. And of course, the new age Gen Z B2B buyers. Now, traditional channel strategies like cold calling, the request for proposals have been appended. B2B customers now use more than 9 channels on their buying journey. This is something that I was reading somewhere a few days back. Now, these channels have shifted from the older channels like email or phone calls or other channels to mobile apps, chatbots, both Gen AI chatbots and conversational chatbots, and social media, of course. Now, we are moving on to the next section speaker, which is the audience voice. And seeing the level of content that has been shared here, I'm sure that our audience have a lot to ask. And I can see I was continuously, scrolling through the chat section that we have on the side, and I'm pretty much sure that most of the questions have already been answered. So, Anshuman, I would like you to take this Q&A section up.
Definitely.
Indeed.
I think there's some amazing questions. With 6 minutes in hand, I'll try to wrap it up quickly. There's a question by Richard. How important is implementing personalization in the B2B checkout process? Lance, over to you. How important is it to, implement personalization B2B checkout process?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to sort of unpack there. But if we think just about checkout, right? So ignoring everything else before it, I'm going to imagine the question is just about you've got to the checkout. What does personalization mean? Have you got the right payment terms? Have you got the right payment types? That doesn't seem necessarily like personalization, but let's imagine for specific customers, offer 30-day, 45-day, 60-day terms that they can pay on. Is that reflected in the checkout? If it's not, the number one reason, BigCommerce did a buyer survey, the number one reason buyers said they left the checkout was not being able to pay with the payment type that they expected. Number two reason was not being able to get the inventory. So if I know that you as a buyer, actually what you like to do is purchase online, but then go and pick up in store, have I already got that store available in the checkout with the amount of inventory that's available and when it's going to be ready for you to pick up? That kind of personalization right in the checkout ensures that when that buyer gets that last stage, they're about to click buy, they don't back out. Because what they want to see, the information that they want to see in that checkout is already there and available for them. It's really, everyone, we think about personalization before the checkout, right? And we get the buyer there, the product's in the car, but what happens if you haven't thought about what they really care about when they hit that final, almost most important part of the buyer journey, when they're actually going to make the purchase? So yeah, I think it is important. At BigCommerce, our checkout is actually open source. We have lots of ways to personalize it out of the box, but it's also open source. So you can take it and actually personalize it however you like, which is one of the really key benefits of BigCommerce. We like to be open, to allow customizations, because we know B2B businesses they're all different. You have different ways of operating, and you need to build that into the online processes. Sorry, go on.
And a lot of our experts in BigCommerce developers, right? They've always mentioned how seamlessly they are able to do that in BigCommerce. So kudos to you guys, how you've built it.
Back to you, Andrew. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. Sorry, Gary, I missed that one line, last statement from you. I think there was some network issues. Just can you repeat again?
I was just saying that a lot of our BigCommerce developers, they mentioned that how seamlessly BigCommerce had made this process and development easy to be implemented, right? So if someone is looking to look for personalized experiences in checkout, we have various use cases that we have collaborated with BigCommerce, and happy to share them offline.
Yeah, Lance mentioned such an amazing point, and there's a stat also by Gartner or Statista that 57% of buyers or shoppers don't shop if they don't get their desired payment,
Correct.
methodology and credit times and all those things. So very critical. So checkout is a lot about right promotions being applied, right pricing being offered, credit terms being offered, additional information being submitted, and so on and so forth. I think that's what it is. And at BigCommerce, as I said, we have a complete customized module of checkout, and you can, and with companies like Successive, you can do whatever you want on the checkout. Build your own checkout, use the native tools. I think you can achieve a lot of it. Moving on to next question, moving on to a few comments by some of the folks. Jatin Kumar talks about a Gartner report. Then we have Jyotsna talking about understanding customers' buying journey will definitely add value to B2B. Yeah, very important. And yes, a good example shared. Shreya says having a version of a product is one thing, but releasing it in the market is a task that involves a lot of effort. Okay, let me repeat. Having a version of a product is one thing, but releasing it in the market is a task that involves a lot of effort. Yes, indeed, it involves a lot of effort of building a prototype and going it in a live fashion. What do we have next? Gaining deep insights into customer behavior and buying journey is essential. Yes. Okay. Alka has a question from Lance. How much automation is possible with BigCommerce's B2B platform for developers and for development?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love it. The way we've built our platform is to make it as easy as possible to automate those standard, and I'm going to call them standard. There's nothing standard about manufacturing and distribution. There's more standard processes that are often happening offline and disjointed and antiquated, moving them online and making them automatable. So out of the box, BigCommerce B2B Edition supports quoting. That means that the buyer that's often phoning up to request a quote can now do that online through your site, and your sales team can respond to it through the site. That's really, really important. Second, invoicing. How are invoices being paid today? Often they're offline, often over the phone or sending a check or through some portal that is disjointed from the buyer journey. Invoices are built into BigCommerce B2B Edition. They're there ready and available. Buyer approval workflows. I mentioned this up towards the beginning. Often the approval of a purchase at a B2B company goes through numerous different hands. We've built that online, so your buyers can then go through that purchase approval workflow online. They don't have to go off your site. You keep them on the site longer. And then things like easy reordering, CSV uploads, right? We spoke about that spreadsheet. You've got the spreadsheet. Now you can just upload it online. Really simple and easy to make that reorder. What we've also done, and kind of final point on this, that's out of the box. We've actually open sourced our buyer portal. What is that? That's the front end. That's what your buyers see when they log into your site. That's their account page. It's how they manage your interactions. Because we've open sourced it, you can take it and build on top of that however you like. You could link that. Let's say you're using HubSpot CRM and you want your customers to be able to go online and create a support ticket for HubSpot on your site. You can build that with our open source buyer portal. And that's really, really exciting. So out of the box, all of those base use cases can be automated and they're covered. But with open source, you can automate basically any flow because you can build what you need on BigCommerce. Really exciting, really, really exciting for manufacturers and distributors and B2B businesses.
Yeah. Gary, your views on it, Gary.
No, I think you both have covered it all. We can go to the next question.
Okay, perfect. So there's one last question. I think we are also over time. I'll just take this one last question. I don't see the question is, what if I want to integrate my own store with platforms like BigCommerce? How is it going to help me digitization? How should I educate more about this? I think Shreya, we should get on a one-on-one session to talk a bit because this question is more of your personal use case. It's better that we discuss it offline. If you see, we have left our successors have left their email IDs on the screen. If you can just drop us an email, we'll take it up from there. We can schedule a meeting and we'll take it up from there.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something that came in last minute. Shivani Kakkar says, does BigCommerce support approval workflows tailored to the customer's internal process, allowing for multiple level of approvals and authorization within the organization, or have one process that fits all? Lance, would you like to take this?
Yeah, so I think that's a really, really great question. Do you have multiple levels of approval? So today that doesn't sit in the out of the box piece of functionality that I mentioned. But because we've open sourced that front end, you can build that into the site. So today, and actually we're about to release new, what we call buyer roles and permissions. So unleashing the ability to create multiple different buyer roles and permissions. A role that only can look at invoices and download them for the finance team, and someone that can only look at quotes or respond to quotes. And that's actually coming out in the next 2 weeks. So really, really exciting development. We're making changes to roles and permissions and approval workflows all the time. Right now, today, I think with that multiple levels, you would take our open source and there would be a little bit of customization to make that work. But in the future, we'll definitely be supporting that. It is nicely on our roadmap.
All right. Thank you so much, Lance. Thank you so much, Anshuman, and thank you so much, Gaurav. Thank you so much for our viewers too. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure our viewers enjoyed it as well. And for our viewers, last minute, I would like to mention it again. We have our email ID over the screen. If you want to speak to our experts, or if you have any questions left, we'll set up a dedicated session for you guys. Just drop us an email. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
So before we all leave, thank you so much, Shafali, for being such a nice moderator. I know there's been a lot of hard work that has gone in the background to reach to this stage. I want to thank our marketing team from BigCommerce as well as Successive for making this a big success. Before we all wrap up, as Shafali was mentioning, this was our first digital Decode live. We plan to run this every month, and I'm sure we'll be talking to BigCommerce again. So just wait for the next announcement on when we are doing what topic, and Shifali will be back. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
100%. I'll be back. And also, one more thing for our viewers, please follow us. We have our social media here with the name of Successive Digital, and Lance and Anshuman, you can follow us too.
And
Yeah,
Definitely.
follow BigCommerce.
Ali,
yeah,
thank you.
and follow Big Commerce as well.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining in
All
and
right.
tuning in.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you so
everyone.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone. Bye. Bye bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Anshuman.
Lance, Anshuman.
Thanks, Shafali, Gary.
Yeah, thank